Hey, Planeswalkers, hope you're doing well and staying safe. Welcome to today's episode where we are breaking things down here for a net new in-depth release all about Innistrad Midnight Hunt. We got a lot going on here, so stay tuned. We'll talk about this here in a second. It's your friend Mythras breaking things down here on the channel for you. We got something unique. I know it kicked off here like a day and a half ago, maybe two when we watched this. I had a lot going on. I moved, newborn, all this stuff. Very excited. I got my setup going on. Let me know. I'd love to hear about what you think. But nonetheless, today, my friends, it's all about you. We got a lot of great content coming your way and thoughts. So feel free to go check out the description where we have the timestamps for mechanics, drafting and sealed, potential impacts to standard, and some final thoughts. And on top of that, because I missed Friday Night Meta, my friends, a little extra detail in there as well that I think you'll be excited about. So check it out. Very excited. If you have questions, if you have comments, let me know down below. Would love to hear from you. On top of that, feel free to hop in the Discord server. That is in the details there, readily available for you. Would love to see you in there because we've got a lot of stuff going on and a lot of great help. So with that, Planeswalkers, appreciate you checking in today, checking out today's episode. Flip me a like if you enjoy it. On top of that, great ways to support the channel down below in the description, and other great ways to stay connected for all the content that we have going on here. So I'm very excited. So like I said, we're going to break today's episode down into a couple different things. We're going to start with the mechanics here, which is very important when it comes to Midnight Hunt. So we got a couple of different things coming on. We got the day and the night going on again. This is a big piece, so I wanted to show this to you here on the Wizards of the Coast or Wizards main channel here, so you can see what's going on. But the biggest piece here that I like is that when you move from day to night, you can actually cast your creatures for the same casting cost, and they will transform already when they hit the board, which is very, very important because Nightbound is going to make a big, big difference relative to what's been in the past. There are things that still transform, but that don't use Nightbound. We'll talk about that here a little bit later, but that's a big, big thing. Two ways to transform here. We'll cover that right now. Games day to night. First should be familiar for those of you that have been in Innistrad before. Yes, I've been there. Hopefully you have too. But with that, as day turns to night, A, don't cast a spell, 2, cast 2 spells, and flips. So that's the way it works. I like that they got these tokens and everything, which is great, particularly for those of us that are able to play in person right now. Next, transforming. As it becomes day, all double-face cards, like I said, Nightbound transform to their day-bound faces. As it becomes night, all double-face cards transform with the Daemon transform in the Nightbound faces. So very, very nice. Sorry, Moon Mist, for all of you fans. The bound part of Daybound and Nightbound is serious. So I know that was a piece earlier, but when it comes to mechanics, we've picked up a couple of other things. Disturb. We've also picked up Coven or Coven, and Coven. It's, yeah, my English is terrible. But here's what we have going on. Disturb is essentially like a flashback. What's happening is it goes in the graveyard. You can play the Disturb class. You're going to get the flip side of the card. So for Bait Hook, boom, you get Hook, Haunt, Drifter. So when Disturb happens, so if it goes to the mill, for example, then you can play it. If it dies, it goes to your graveyard. You can play it again. For the Disturb cost, not Flashback. It's another kind of mechanic, so Flashback's going to be the top part. Disturb gives you access to the modal side, which is pretty sweet, by the way. So lots of things that you can use here in that side. Next, we got Covens or Coven. Big one here is 3 creatures with power difference and not the same. So when that happens, you get to do something fun. So like Candlelit Cavalry here. At the beginning of your combat, if 3 or more creatures have that difference in power, this guy is going to get trampled. So that is another pickup that we have going on here with Coven. So those are the cool new features here with the Innistrad set. Midnight Hunt, really, really fun. Looking forward to this. and have already done some damage with it in sealed. So with that, let's go ahead and check out some of the key components when we talk about drafting and sealed here, my friends, so that you are readily prepared for all the best that's got going on. Here's what we have when we talk about the sealed component. We'll pop over here. Yes, lots of stuff going on. You can see that here into the card gallery. As I like to talk about some of the key mechanics and components, there's really about 10 things that you should be keeping an eye on. And when we talk about these are the archetypes to pay attention to with the new set here. First off, we have spirits in terms of tribals, and most of these are going to be 1 or 2 color schemas, which is very important for us, particularly in draft. Also sealed to make it easier. A lot of that has to deal with the access to lands and all those things, but nonetheless, the first one here, we got the spirit tribal. So a lot of times this involves flying, blue-white. That's exactly what we have going on here. Lots of great support there. Next, we have zombies. Zombies going to be blue and black, or island and swamp. Also have a component of vampire. Vampire tribals really going to be Rakdos colors, to be red and black. Additionally, here we have big pickup besides the vampires. Werewolves. Werewolves is kicking off here in Gruul colors, being very, very important to pay attention to. We also have what we call the Hunts Human Tribal. And Hunts by Midnight Hunts. This is Selesnya color, so pay attention to this. This is what I ran for some sealed myself. Done very, very well. We'll talk about this a little bit later again. Human Tribal here for Selesnya colors, a big one. We have Aristocrats. Aristocrats is both swamp and plains here for you. So we get access to cheap creatures and tokens that has more of a go wide strategy. You got some of the decay and some of the other stuff going on in that space. We have instants and sorceries archetype. So our favorite Izzet. So here Izzet is very, very powerful. We got a lot of things that we can play with in terms of the common and uncommon space. On top of that, rare has a lot of support there as well. Next, Graveyard Midrange. So this is our Golgari. These tend to be a little bit more in terms of 3 to 5 drop slot. So keep that in mind. A lot of playback. We also have Aggro Daybound. So this is our Boros type, revolving a lot of times around the Knight component as well as Clerics. So keep that in mind, but there's a lot of cool things that we can do in this space. We have Flashback. So we talked about Flashback already, but interestingly enough, this Flashback mechanic is more around forest and islands. So we've got Simic, so keep that in mind. So I believe that's 10. I'll make sure that that's available to you. Check that out down below in the description. You'll have access to that. So at a very, very high level, those are the things that you want to pay attention to as you're drafting, as you're doing sealed. I absolutely recommend hitting it hard with sealed at the beginning. I'm trying to get those games in there. So much going on. But stay tuned. We'll make sure to get you those top decks. I know it's been a few days, but we'll continue to work through it, my friends, because that is what we do. I'm dedicated and I love Magic the Gathering just like you. So that is the mechanics. That is also the draft and sealed kind of archetypes there to keep in mind. Next, we're going to talk about standard potential impacts. So the first thing about that I think is very, very important for you to know, one, we did do this lovely. I want to skip through this. Appreciate it if you watch the ads. As always, that helps me very, very much, but we'll skip this. So, boom. Let me know what you think of that going on there. I love what we have going on in terms of context, but we will pause there, or we can mute it. We can keep it going. Love this. Probably crazy going on right now a little bit. In terms of our standard 2022, we had 25 plus top decks. We'll talk about a couple of those things. You can check out my website. That information is available to you down below. In terms of the tier list, that tier list, usually the key pieces are 1 and 2. When we pick up from a new set, we bring that forward, and then we blend in terms of what's going on. Standard 2022 as a format is very important for us as we transcend, as we move into post-rotation. Rotations happen, my friends. We got a lot going on. We've lost everyone's favorite Throne of Eldraine. So we got a lot moving on there from there. So here's what we have. I always like to call this out. We'll move over here so you can check it out. But that lovely tier list, like I said, you can check the video out. But the real key pieces here are a lot of the cool top decks that we've talked about. Best of one is very, very driven in terms of win rates. We're not playing these in tournaments, except for maybe the Multiverse tournament. So you can certainly check that out. We got one coming here soon. Historic, I promise. Move is done. Hopefully, lots of unpacking. Crazy to go on, but I did get my computer set up. We're there. But here's what we got going on. Mono white aggro, mono green aggro, landfall bant party, Orzhov control. I'm going to speculate here. Those are going to be a lot of the key decks. We'll keep an eye on that. Some of the stuff that we talked about, though, in terms of those key archetypes, when we move from draft and limited, you're going to want to pay attention to, because usually that's also where we get some pickup in some new archetypes here, and we'll talk about that in a second. We got Boros aggro, like we talked about, and a host of other things. So really, really looking forward to that. But before we go ahead now, and break things down, many of you are wondering, I did talk about Friday Night Meta. We will now move over there and talk about what we do have going on with some of the data. So early data here that we have going on in Untapped, because this is pretty important to pay attention to. So at an aggregate, again, mono white is doing well, mono green is doing well, Orzhov's doing well, Rakdos and Gruul is there. In terms of the top kind of 8, we got a host of other things, lots of decks that we talked about, Dimir, Golgari, Izzet, but the win rates aren't great. And again, this is at aggregate, so keep that in mind. As we move in the competitive scene, it's going to shift just slightly because there's still a lot of stuff going on in terms of the out of the gate, but let's go ahead and blow it out. What's interesting is we can see the shift here. A lot of people focused on Gruul. A lot of this is going to be the werewolf stuff that we've talked about before. So you see that we're kind of actually in the middle of the pack. We got mono white, Orzhov. We've seen some cool things in that space. Also, Izzet we talked about, mono green, Rakdos, and so forth. So a very, very big pivot. We see a lot of this stuff falling off. Look at mono red, aggro, gone. Look at that. Mono white still pulls over. Izzet still kind of there. And that's kind of the Izzet dragons, but it's totally different things. More like Izzet spells. And a host of things. So very important there for us to pay attention in terms of some of the changes and everything else here happening today. So very exciting and giving us a nice fresh breather into what we have going on. So with that, I'm going to have to grab a quick refill there so I can clear my throat out. I've got to find my mug. But with that said, you can certainly support the channel with awesome swag like the hat and obviously the glass and coffee cups and all that stuff. As always, my friends. So if you can hear me swallow, good for you. It does kind of sound like a big tunnel chamber, but let me know. So, all right. So there we go. A lot coming at you. We talked about a couple of the key pieces here. In terms of mechanics, drafting and sealed, we gave you insights into what's going on in the meta. Now let's go ahead and dive into it a little bit more in terms of those potential impacts when we get to our lovely, which is our been going on for 2 days, Innistrad Midnight Hunt, my friends. So here's a couple of things. The first thing that popped out to me here certainly was when we got to Adeline here. Was that lovely night mechanic. So I talked about this a little bit. Something a little bit different here when we get to the Boros, but definitely worth paying attention to. And again, a lot of stuff we covered for draft and limited is going to be a little bit different, but things to think about as we move into like stuff like Orzhov control. Fateful Absence here is going to be a big key card. So we got an instant destroy target creature or planeswalker. Planeswalker's big at the white there, so keep that in mind because that's going to be pretty important. You're giving them an investigate so they can go draw a card. Probably a decent trade-off, particularly for 2 there. Good old Sorin, as always. Unfortunately, we don't see him in this release, but we will speculate that he'll be back. We do have the curses here, so this is something else to pay attention to. Curse of Silence, enchant player. As it enters spells with the chosen name, costs 2 more. When an enchant player casts a spell, chosen name, you may sacrifice curse. If you do, draw a card. So something to think about from that perspective. So maybe we're going to get something similar to Shrines. I don't know, but we have fun, and we go from there. Next, a couple of things going on. Sigardas. Sigardas is pretty important to pay attention to. We have a lovely angel here, 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, go pull 2 back from your graveyard, pop it in there. Could be something. Pay attention to that with mono white. That's a good top end in the mono white deck because we got lots of casting to pull those things back, cheap value, all that stuff. So think about that. I've pulled this guy a few times for draft and sealed. Vanquish the Horde. Destroy all creatures. Cost 1 less cast for each creature on the battlefield. Boom. Big on the control side. Look. Each creature, not just yours, your opponent's count as well. That's going to be pretty brutal there. In our lovely Azor's control, you can maybe want a white between this and everything else, or between this and Orzhov. Going to look pretty nice. So keep those things in mind. Next, we move to blue. Blue, what do we have for fun? We got curses, like we talked about. We got a lot of other things going on here. Grafted Identity. As additional cost, cast a spell, sacrifice creature, enchant creature. You control enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets a lot going on there. You can pull a lot of nice things with that, particularly from what we've seen. But the big one that I really like is this: Disciple the Drowned. Spells can't be countered. Always in control decks. Look, did we talk about board wipe? Bring this back. Oh, each instant and sorcerer's card in your graveyard has flashback. Boom. Not nice. We got a lot of removal here. We got a lot of late game stuff. We can make it work. Maybe there's Esper, maybe there's a lot of things, but anyway, pay attention to that. Other cool things that we have here that I like. There's a lot of great cards. I like the spirit stuff. Talked about Orzhov or Azor's Flyers, flying other spirits. We talked about the spirits mechanic. Could be something there. Definitely in terms of limited, those kinds of things. Sledge monster attacks in, creatures become 2/2. Essentially, is what happens. These things are pretty cool. So this we got going on. I like the spirits. We got Spectral Adversary. Maybe it's gonna get better. Maybe not so much. What happens is it's kind of got like a kicker, but like a multi-kicker. You pay it, and then you get to do a couple extra things. So it gets a +1/+1 when that happens, and up to that many other target artifacts or creatures and or enchantments phase out. So you can essentially blank. So you're popping this guy in, you're paying extra, you're blanking your other stuff out of the way. Really, really cool. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that you could do with that. So looking forward to that between all the blank decks and the spirit stuff that we talked about already. This is kind of going for 2, no maximum hand size, and additional win condition for 13 cards. That could be good. Now we get into black. Black, we start to see more again. Our vampire component that we've talked about. But we got Bloodlight Culling, so we got a strat for 5/5. We also have creature token gets -2, -2, and not tokens. We got our champion of the parish, so zombies again is in play like we talked about. Then on top of that, we got Giza. Giza was a big one. I know a lot of you talked about this. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile instead. So we got a lot of stuff to get stuff out of the graveyard. That's going to be important here with flashback. You want to keep that in mind. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, put all creature cards exiled with Giza, Resurrector on the battlefield under your control. They gain Decay. There is a card for Kaldheim that you could pull in. Same thing. A little bit different, but we'll pay attention to that. We've done it before in our mono black decks or Auras decks. That's been a lot of fun. I'm blanking on the name, but you can check that out. We've got Infernal Grasp. Destroy target creature. You lose 2 life at instant speed, so it's pretty powerful. We got Jadar. We got Lord of the Forsaken. Love this. Flying Trample. Big, big, big. 6/6. Sacrifice another creature. Trample. Target player is going to mill 3 cards. Very, very nice. Mill decks. You're still playing that. And we got Mask of Griselbrand. Equipped creature has flying and lifelink. Get some stuff back if you need to. When equipped creature dies, you gain X life, where X is power. And Drax cards. So very, very cool equipment deck there. This is a cool one, the Meat Hook Massacre. So you're going to pop this in, you pay X, and you can wipe the board, and you got a gain drain, which is pretty cool. Then on top of that, so again, nice stuff. We got Slaughterhouse or Slaughter Specialist. Creature and opponent dies, put a +1/+1. We also got Tainted Adversary. So again, kicker, multi-kicker. Add those 2/2s with Decay. Next, we get into mono red. Bloodthirsty Adversary. So you can kick this one, +1/+1 counters, like we talked about. Then that many instant or sorcery spells. So I really, really like that. Again, Izzet we talked about, and we saw that there too with the overview. So don't forget, we get to a little bit more competitive. So boom, there we go. That's what we got going on. I didn't talk about that before, but now you guys see that for sticking around. So thank you. Huge things here. Burn down the house. 5 on board wipe. You can get a couple of little devils if you need to. It's good in the control deck. Flip from board wipe to creatures if you need to. Gives you a little bit of value on both sides. Again, enchant the players. We talked about the curses. Falcon Wrath's good. Good drop. Great long-term value if you need it. We also got Geist Flame. Again, in terms of those lovely Izzet or kind of control decks or damage dealer decks, whenever you cast a sorcery spell, put a charge counter on it. It's going to do some stuff. We got Light Up the Night. Moonveil Regent. Pretty powerful. This guy's got flying. Whenever you cast a spell, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw a card for each of those spell colors. When this guy dies, deals X damage to target, where X is the number of colors among perms you control. So a little bit different there. It could be narrow, not as good, but pretty cool. We've still got some of the dragon stuff going on coming out of Dungeons and Dragons. We do have Phoenix here. Phoenix is pretty powerful. Pay attention. What I really like is this guy. I really like Thermal Alchemist as a historic player and mono red pinger. In terms of burn decks, great to see this. I'm speculating we'll probably see something coming on as well. So then we move into green. Green's got a lot of support from a lot of interesting things. I really like this Augur of Autumn for 3. This reminds me of the enchantment card that's a centaur, and I'm blanking on it from the original Theros. 2/3, I think that was a 2/4. But here you can look at the top of your card, the library in time. You may play land cards, and then if you get Coven, you can play creature cards. It's pretty sweet. So there's a big card advantage there that can happen with this. Good short term, great long term. Lots of cool things also in the space. We got Tracker. Not necessarily as good. We got the Blob, not necessarily as good. Do we get some pickups for mono green here? So mono green gets a couple things, maybe Primal Adversary. 4/3 at 3 is not too bad. I like this card here. Sereth the Viper's Thing. So other tap creatures you control get Death Touch. Other tap creatures you control have Hexproof. So no direct damage. That gives you a lot of actually protection. Mono green, particularly for best of 3, you can untap it, which is pretty cool, and protect that creature. This one, Storm of the Festival. So people have been saying, so again, day and a half. Is this the new Coco at 6? Maybe it's not instant speed. Does it flashback though? And you can grab 5, value 5 or less, which is pretty powerful. Next, I really like this one, tapping at the window. You can play this. I love the art. There's something like way back there. You got something tapping at the window, but pretty cool. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Not for standard, but just kind of cool call out there. Unnatural Growth, Willow Geist, pretty cool. Trample whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, put +1/+1. Again, Flashback's great. Ren and 7 just wrecks people, so you can check that out. Next, multicolor cards. So again, we talked about these archetypes. We'll look at these really quickly here. All these support a lot of the stuff that we talked about already. You can check that out earlier, but Liza, Forgotten Angel, or Archangel, very, very powerful. I really like that card. Again, Ren, very, very powerful in the aggro Boros stuff that we've talked about. Sacred Fire, 2 damage to any target, like a Helix, but not quite as good, but you can flash back. We got Sigarda again, we've talked about this, Flying Trample, Orzhov Humans, and a host of other things going on. We got the good old Teferi, again, aggro, and a lot of other support. Artifacts, the Celestus. I really, really like this. And originally the artwork looked like our lovely Spike. I'm blanking on it. Modern card, very, very fun. It's late. I'm sorry, I apologize. But pretty neat, cool things going on in terms of artifacts. And we got our lovely Pithy Needle, Spellkite. Spellkite. That's the one I was thinking of. Spellkite. This is not a Spellkite for the record, but anyway. Pithy Needle, very, very powerful in terms of locking things down. I like Stuff Bear for limited draft. And then we got the lands. We got whatever we call them, enter the battlefield. Tapped. I don't know. That's kind of weird. Love the art though. Love the art. And then we get to our double face. So the thing that I was talking about in double face was this one, Enduring Angel. Boom, Angelic Enforcer. I had an awesome sealed pool. Still playing through it, but my opponent, I had this on board tacked in. I had this, oh boy, and was able to get lethal. So very, very cool. Make sure you read the cards, you know what's going on. It's going to be important for you. Brutal Cathar, same thing. Lots of stuff going on here. Now, here is a big one. So where are you? Where are you? I think it's this one. Boom, Delver. So we got Delver reprint, which is pretty cool. It's going to be powerful, I think, particularly in Izzet. Beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If you do, reveal it, a 3/2 flyer. Boom. Lots of damage. A lot of things happening there. So pretty cool. We got Hermit here. This guy does some stuff too, which is pretty cool. Sacrifice, protect your board. Flying, you can flip it. Non-creature spells can't be countered, so essentially helps you your match and everything else. So definitely a sideboard card. And then a lot of cool other things. Then we get into black here, Crystal H's. We got some other things. Again, Joran, Corrupted. We also got the Graveyard Glutton. Then we move into red. I've played against Reckless Stormseeker. It's a great limited card. Does a lot of stuff. Smoldering Egg, like I talked about in terms of Izzet colors. This one could get you a nice flying dragon. Pay attention to that. We got the Werewolves. I've had some nice stuff with this one here in Tolvars in terms of limited. I've gotten smashed by Arlen. Absolutely smashed by this card. Super, super fun. So keep that in mind. And then you got a lot of other support in those colors that we've talked about here. Last color, land, hostile. So here add 1, you can sacrifice at 4. You can transfer this, or maybe it's 3. Maybe it's 3. Yep, 3 or more. You got some really, really nasty stuff that can happen there. So Planeswalkers. Let's go ahead and pop back up. Actually, let's go over to Midnight Hunt. Very, very fun. Awesome. Thank you. There we go. Thank you for checking in today. We have a lot going on. On top of that, in terms of support of the channel, you can certainly pre-order with TCG. I have my information there, so thank you ahead of time. If you do that, great way to support the channel. Other great ways to support the channel. Thank you, patrons. Thank you, YouTube members. Lots of cool things for you in terms of deck reviews and a host of other stuff and one-on-one interaction with yours truly. So thank you. And appreciate it as always. So if you like today's episode, flip me a like. If you have questions, if you have comments, let me know down below. On top of that, we knocked out the new mechanics here for Innistrad Midnight Hunt. We talked about drafting and sealed archetypes. We gave you some potential impacts for standard. And on top of that, we did do a sweet dive into the current meta because I wasn't able to do that, but now we're through the move. I'm all set up. So let me know what you think. Feedback, all that stuff is always important to me. So Planeswalkers, with that said, you stay safe, you take care. Good luck in your drafting and sealed. Good luck in your crafting. Good luck in your decks. Oh, but you can stay tuned on the channel because we'll get a lot of stuff and a lot of cool things coming your way. So with that, Planeswalkers, we'll see you again soon. We got more standard top decks. We got historic. I will get back into historic here after this. Also, Jank going on. We covered off on Standard 2022. Boom, it's gone. You can check all that out if you'd like here on the channel, like we talked about before. Previously, and we'll get some tournaments going here for the rest of September, so take care, stay tuned, and with that, Planeswalkers, until next time, we'll see you again soon. Mythras out.